Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of What's the Issue, Sis? We all up in here. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Everybody having a good day?
Yeah. How about you? How was your day?
We don't want to talk about that, but that's not, I'm
Okay.
good. I'm
What's
good.
the issue, sis? What's the issue?
What's the issue? This is the issue. So we talking about today, what's the issue with Chad Wheeler? So everybody's up to date on Chad Wheeler. So Chad Wheeler is the Seattle Seahawks player last week or week before last, I think it's been a week, who was accused of domestic violence with brutalizing his black girlfriend. And there was a whole outrage online about this situation. So, what's the issue? What's everybody's issue? My issue is that I didn't see the same energy when it was somebody black who was committing domestic violence against their girlfriend. Like, for example, I brought up the issue with Ray Rice in one of our Facebook groups, and I got attacked. So, how does everybody feel about this Chad Wheeler situation?
It's terrible. It's a shame. It's a shame that men think it's okay to put their hands on women. It's terrible.
Yeah, you feel everybody feel the same way? What's going on?
Well, that's a given, right? That's a given. I did see. I didn't follow the story like as it was coming out. I wasn't clicking on articles or watching news clips or anything like that. I did see it in my Facebook news feed quite a bit. I saw people sharing it, and I saw the picture where they showed a picture of him next to a picture of her where she's got blood dried all under her nose and stuff. I saw that. I didn't read through it because it's obvious, right?
Right.
He beat this woman bad. His ass needs to go to jail.
Yeah, there's no justifying that. Period.
Right. Period. He needs to go to jail. And he was arrested. But like you said, Rabia, I did see a lot of people openly condemning the white boy for beating up this sister. I saw a lot of that from men and women, which is, like you also pointed out, Rabia, it's a little bit different than what we see when more comparable. So I'm saying comparable in terms of time, when Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez had that incident.
Right.
You didn't see.
I forgot about that.
You didn't see black men and black women standing on the side of the woman.
Right.
So I saw what you saw.
Yeah.
I saw what you saw.
Wow, I didn't think about that one either.
I forgot all about that. I forgot all about that because most of that backlash was against her. It was saying, oh, she's lying. Oh, I said that too. But oh, she lying. She got shot in the foot. Why is she acting like she's hurt? All of that type of stuff. Nobody had that same energy when it was her. When I brought up the Ray Rice incident is because Ray Rice is a football player. And I think he played for, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to lie. I think it was like Minnesota Vikings or something like that. But this was back in
2014.
Was it 2014? It was like, it was
so.
around that time. Yeah. So he beat up the girl, his fiance at the time, but they got married by the time that the video came out. They were in Vegas. He beat her up on camera. They had a camera video of him knocking her out, literally. He hit her in her face. She was on the floor, knocked out. They pulled her out of the elevator, and all this was on camera. He got 2 game suspension, and that was his punishment from the NFL. 2 games, no arrest. This was on camera, and I was like, at the time, I was like, what is this right? Like, is this supposed to be this way? But apparently, when you black and you in the NFL, you don't get charged like you do when you white. Because this white dude lost his job, lost his endorsements, all of that. But could it be?
Well,
Well, I was gonna say, could it be
Go ahead.
because it's 2021 and it's not 2014?
That's what I was gonna say. It's
That's
a
what I
sign
think
of
too.
the times.
Yeah.
It's a sign of the spotlight and the social pressure. So peer pressure is weaponized again, right?
Yeah.
So when you come out of, we're coming off of 2019. We're coming off of 2020 George Floyd, right? We are, the spotlight is on racial tension, racial inequality in America.
Right.
I don't know exactly what it's going to take to get the spotlight on the vulnerability of Black women in America. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if this is going to spark that off, or if every time a Black woman is assaulted, violated, murdered, is going to be somehow some kind of isolated and compartmentalized incident. But it's kind of feeling like that, because I did read enough to see that the man thought, Chad thought he killed the girl. He thought the girl was dead. And when she came, when she revived consciousness, he was like, "Oh, you're alive."
Right.
So given that, he still managed to bail out.
Yeah.
Right. He still managed to bail out. Right.
Given the photographs of her face, like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take? If it's on camera, it doesn't matter. If there's photos, it doesn't matter. If they're in the police station telling them this is what happened and you just seen it outside, it doesn't matter. Like, what is it going to take for the brutality of Black women to be taken seriously?
Yeah. So this could be the incident, right? Why not let this sister's assault under Kamala Harris's vice presidency? Why not let this be the one that sparks off major attention to Black femicide?
Do we think that that's going to happen?
I don't.
It can. It can. We got to touch and agree. We have to start putting our energy into it can, instead of and this is my opinion is now that Black people have, all of us have voices. We have a voice because we have a cell phone and a social media account. Right. So now that we all have a voice, and now that we all have access to what I like to call the collective consciousness, we need to use our voice to raise awareness. It doesn't, it only hurts us as a group when we say things like, now, if they would have been Black, it would have. Yeah, if they would have been Black, it would have. They're not Black. Let's not do that. Let's talk about the reality. The reality is a 6'7", 300-pound man beat a woman until he broke her arm and she lost consciousness.
Regardless,
right. Let's see justice meted out, because that's violence. That is battery.
Yeah.
Aggravated assault, domestic violence. He's a celebrity. He's a flight risk. He's a motherfucking monster. 6'7", 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Give him what he deserves. Give him the punishment he deserves.
Yeah.
He lost his job. He deserved to lose his job. People lose their jobs if they make racist statements on Facebook and enough people apply pressure and call their boss.
Now they do.
So now they do. So let's keep that. Let's keep that same energy. Let's roll with that momentum. Let's roll with that momentum. Chad needed to lose his job. Any other professional athlete want to put their hands on their girl, you're gonna lose your job too.
From here on out.
From here on out, you're a high-profile executive. You put your hands on somebody, you get to lose your job. You're a politician. You put your hands on somebody, you get to lose your job. And you get to go to jail. You get an arrest record.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get to spend some time in the pen. Let's let this be the spark. Let's let this kick off the momentum, because we could all sit up on her and say, now if they was, but that's not going to empower anything. But if we all nod our heads and we all add our voices and agree, give it to him, give him his consequence, and let it be a lesson to everybody else that their consequences come.
Right.
It just needs to be the standard for everybody. I just hope that
right?
if we start this now, it needs to continue. It needs to be every situation that happens. If it's a singer, if it's this person, if we find out that this is what they're doing. And I think that's the problem here. Because I think people pick and choose on who they want to support based on certain things. And that's why I'm like, I don't think it's a change with the times. I feel like it's people are choosy. Because like you said, like with the Megan Thee Stallion situation, it's like, yeah, we didn't necessarily see that on camera, but she said he shot her. And she showed us the bullet wounds. And it went as far as to where she was on Twitter talking about how people are bullying her and this is her trauma. And this is something that she went through. Because people are not holding that same energy for Tory Lanez that they holding for now Chad Wheeler. And it's like, okay, if we're going to make this the standard, who was the standard for? And are we just, you're not going to say about Megan Thee Stallion, well, she's big and she could have provoked him, but then say that this girl it's not right for her getting beat up. You know what I mean? So it's like, where is the standard of, is it going to be all around is the question.
Right.
Or is it just going to be when we see white people doing it to us?
That exactly.
Or is it gonna be about us doing it to us too.
Where's the collective outrage when it's a black man? Where's the collective outrage when it's a black celebrity? Because on that same Facebook post in that group, right after that, somebody posted something about how T.I. is trafficking women. None of them women on there said, oh my God, that is outrageous. We need to call for him to be arrested. Nobody said none of that. I saw, well, they don't know if he did it. Well, maybe, but I don't know. It was none of that. That's still the same type of brutality, whether he's hitting them in the face. That lady said he held a gun to her head. Well, they just trying to keep a black man down. Are y'all serious? Like, what is happening? Where's the collective outrage when it's a black man? When it's a black man, not just a celebrity, when it's a black man in your family, when it's a black man down the street at the neighbor's house, where's the collective outrage then? All these women, because one of the Facebook groups is about femicide, like what LaDonna was saying, and they were saying it's like up to 84,000 women now at this point that they're tracking. Where is it? Yeah. Why is everybody shifting? Why is everybody not staying on their opinion, standing on the opinion? Why do they shift when it comes to black men?
Yeah. Well, that was just like kind of like the conversation that we all had about how black mothers coddle their sons throughout their whole life. And they make certain certain things, certain like habits and characteristic traits okay. And it's not just the black mothers, it's the aunties and the community around them. They make it seem like it's okay. So when they become grown men, from a little boy, they're thinking, well, this is just my behavior. This is just what I'm about to do. And whoever's going to be with me or around me is going to accept it, but that's not the case. Nobody wants to hold accountability for themselves.
So I agree. Who's supposed to hold people accountable? Is it us?
We're not supposed to hold other people accountable. We're supposed to hold ourselves accountable.
And
that's the problem too, I think. I think we keep looking outward for, oh, well, this is wrong. Let's make him lose his job and let's do this. And this is going to spark change. But people don't want to sit and look at, like you said, what's going on in the families. What's happening with you right there? You talking about this situation, but you still ain't said nothing to whoever. You know what I mean?
Because it's deep. It's deep.
Celebrities. I think that's what it is. We need to hold ourselves accountable, have these conversations with our families. Everybody needs to do. I think it's something that changes with us. We can't really do it outward. And that's the problem. When do people start holding themselves accountable and holding their families accountable and making it an inward outward thing rather than I'm going to ridicule you and I'm going to cancel you and I'm going to do this because this is what you're doing. When is that going to start happening?
And when are black women going to be, like LaDonna said last week, praised just because we are?
Yeah.
When is that going to happen?
Never.
No, not.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, ma'am. You can't say never. it's happening now, right?
Mhm.
You praise yourself, you praise your sisters, you praise the women in your circle, right?
You're
You
right.
big up the people that are in your sphere, right? So if I commit to being that type of sister who's gonna big up the women in my sphere influence, that's my social media news feeds, right? My co-workers, my neighbors, my sisters, my cousins, now. That's what I'm gonna do, right?
Yeah.
If I do it long enough, then hopefully they start doing it in their sphere of influence, right? So when we say when is it gonna, I feel like it's about to date myself because I don't even know if y'all old enough to know about Mos Def, but Mos Def had an album
Yeah, we
back
know
in
about Mos Def.
1999.
We know
Yeah, Mos Def.
know about Mos Def.
On the Black on Both Sides album, he does this little soliloquy kind of thing where he said, people always asking me, Mos, what's happening with hip hop? And I tell them, whatever is happening with us is what's happening with hip hop. Hip hop gets better when the people get better, right? And then he does this whole little thing. So that's what's coming to mind as I hear what I'm saying myself. Women will begin to be praised as we praise ourselves. We praise ourselves. Y'all know all it takes is for Black women. Right now, there are gay men who are saying, yes, queen, because Black women say it to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
And just because they're saying it, it doesn't mean that we got to stop. It doesn't mean we didn't start it. And it doesn't mean we got to stop. So Black women can say, yes, queen, to each other. Gay men can say, yes, queen, to each other as well if they love it. But we don't stop. We don't stop. Okay, I see you. All right, kids. Okay, rocking the hair. We don't stop that. We don't stop. And then we keep doing it. We keep doing it. If it seems like it's not being done, we double down and hella do it until we're not asking this question, when are Black women going to start being praised? We won't be a question because we know we do it.
I don't know.
I mean, that's like, I like to believe that I have power. I like to believe that I'm empowered. So I look for, even though some of this is ideal, because I don't do it every day, right? There are some people who will hear me because I like to cuss, right? And I'm the one to be like, okay, bitch, but listen, bitch. And somebody will hear me say that, and they'll think that I'm not empowering to women. But that's them living in their constructs. That's their moral code, their dogma that they live with in their life. But it's not mine. Right? I still big up women. I believe I am empowered. I believe the things I say are empowering. And I believe that I add on to the women that I'm around. So I'm going to keep doing it, right? In all my languages. If I say, okay, bitch, get it. As long as you know what I mean, then I'm still empowering.
Yeah.
You say that with so much conviction that we can tell that that's real, right? But unpopular opinion, how many of you are there, right? I don't other than you,
not a lot.
I don't know any for me, right? I mean, I've seen it, surface level on Facebook. We know a couple of those people. Yes, it's on Facebook, but then when you with them in a business situation or you get with them in something that they feel
it's
like
all shade.
Then it's like, oh well, whatever. It's no more hey sis and bigging up. It's more, well, I need to, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get to a place where it's authentic, where it's real? Where we really think we love the women around us, where it's not a competition type of situation.
I think it's exactly what LaDonna said, though. You gotta build yourself up and then build the people around you. I think it's about being kind of picky in a way too, though. You know what I mean? Until people get to that space that you were at. You know what I mean?
I also feel like it starts in the home as well. When you're raising your children or you're around your brothers and sisters, if they see that type of environment, then they'll start, following your footsteps. And that's I feel that's how it will change, by starting with the younger generation. Because the older generation, y'all lost. I mean, not all of them, but the ones that are lost, they just lost.
I'm clutching my pearls.
the ones that are lost, they just lost. That's done with. You know what I mean? I feel like we need to start focusing on the younger generation.
Okay, so younger generation, what are y'all about to do then? Tell me, how you gonna keep this going? Keep this momentum of the sisterhood going?
Well, I'm pretty positive with my siblings. You know, I uplift them on the daily, so I feel like that's kind of how I'm changing it. I think.
Yeah.
And just even the people around me that I talk to on the streets.
What about you,
Yeah.
youngin?
I think more for me personally, I do it with my family and stuff, but I think the way to get, not saying that what I do is not genuine, but I think I do it more sometimes out of people pleasing rather than because that's just what I want to do. So I think the way to be more genuine about it is to love myself, is to practice that self-love and see that beauty in myself that I am, and then try to see it in the people around me, because we all are just mirrors and reflections of each other. And so I think that's kind of for me, for it to be more of a genuine thing, and for me to be able to do it outside of my circle of people that I already am, my safety net, or the people that I'm comfortable with. You know what I mean? I think it's more of that type of thing for me personally. So I gotta love myself and teach that to my son and my kids. So that's my way of trying.
So how do we got, you know, we have all these stereotypes about Black women, you know, strong Black woman syndrome, aggressive, blah blah blah. So how do we do that? Self-love, self-appreciation, self-confidence, without it being or appearing stereotypical.
What do you mean?
Like cocky, for example. If you bigging up yourself all the time, right? How do you get to a place of where it doesn't appear to someone else? And now I'm not saying that this is how I feel, but I'm saying we have all these Black women stereotypes. We was talking about this the other day. The dudes in the wigs. Yeah, girl, and you know, whatever, right? Caricatures of Black women. How do we get past that to be able to have that confidence and exhibit it on the outside? Because I think that's most of the reason why we don't.
Well, something that I believe will help that is we have to come together in real time. And I know pandemic, COVID, blah, 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 but this is recorded. Somebody gonna watch this a year from now. We have to come together in real time and let what we actually experience be the contrast to what we observe and digest in media, because media is scripted. Media is, like you just said, media is caricature, right? And if we're getting overexposed to caricatures, I just learned this I just took an implicit bias training, and the brother talked about how if you are exposed to a thing over and over and over, your brain, the machine, will start to categorize stuff, right? And so if we're overexposed to the caricatures, we're not going to be able to separate that from the people, right? Unless we are also exposing ourselves to each other in real time, so we have something to compare and contrast, and then our brain, the machine, can do the analysis and the determination of what's real and what's not. But if we're all just in our phones, TikToking our lives away, we're not going to be able to separate the real from the fake. Right. We're going to have to see. We need wine, we need cake, and we need vulnerability and a group of women in the room. You get a group of women together, you give them wine, you give them cake, and you give them a space to be vulnerable and real with each other. You have a life-changing movement.
Yeah.
That's a shameless plug for the Mantis Moon Temple and the Sister Circle. But
go ahead, plug it.
That's what it, in my opinion, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. You just to have real world experiences that can contrast the fake shit that's made up and fed to us.
Okay. Now, even in your experience with being the founder of Mantis Moon Temple, you have experienced that it hasn't been a lot of engagement, right? So how do we get to that place where, yes, we need to have these forums, and yes, we need to have these spaces, but how do we get people who need to be there to be there? We had talked about this before, of how to disseminate information to the masses. And you were talking about, like kind of a snowball effect. You tell your friends, and she tells her friends, and then they tell their friends. But that for some people doesn't seem appealing, right? I'm just gonna get in the room with a bunch of women, and we just gonna, you know, how do we get to that place?
It's
You get what you want to do.
Yeah, I was going to take from what Yana said. You got to, if I'm going to do this thing, if I uphold sisterhood as my pillar, my mission, my motto, my movement, if I'm the only sister in the room, then I'm still going to hold that up. If it's just me and one other sister, I'm still going to hold that up. I have to know who I am. I have to establish my core value and stand in integrity alone, and do that relentlessly, whether it's one sister, 25 sisters, 145 sisters. I have to stand in integrity, and then it will become contagious to other sisters who say, I've been watching her for 3 years, and that sister, and she's solid on that point. I trust her now. Because some people might have to watch you for 3 years before they trust you. Some people might meet you and trust you in 5 minutes. But for every one of us who wants to see that type of sisterhood, that type of camaraderie, that type of trust and fellowship, we have to be it relentlessly.
Okay. So how do we, because we're talking about the Chad Wheeler situation and the outrage, right? How do we get it to a place where women are valuing other women, even in types of situations? Because it's never, and I don't want to say never, most of the time, because like my example of it is Amanda Seales. Everybody know who Amanda Seales is? So Amanda Seales is she's in do you watch Insecure, LaDonna? Have you watched Insecure? No,
I've seen it.
You've seen Insecure? She's on Insecure. She's a stand-up comedian. She has her own comedy special. She's a poet. She sang with Flo. She was a member of Floetry at one point. Like, she's been on The Breakfast Club hundreds of times. Like, she's a celebrity now, right? And she had come out and said that someone that she was working with was sexually assaulting her, had sexually assaulted her. So regardless of whether it was true or not, regardless of whether he did it or not, when she came out with it, people found out who he was because of the time, you know how Twitter is, they investigate, and then everybody investigated what was happening, and they found out who it was because they knew where she was working at. When she came out and said this, everybody attacked her. Why are you doing that to that black man? Why are you trying to ruin his job? Why are you trying to X, Y, and Z? This was 2 years ago. I posted something about her 2 years later in a Facebook group, and the same thing. We ain't gonna listen to her. She likes to lie on black men. What is her? What do we? What do we have to? What does she have to say? She ain't no expert on nothing. She ain't no therapist. What does she have to say about mental health? Because of something that she said that actually did happen, but because none of the black women that was around believed her, and none of the black women that I've seen so far believe her, she's attacked first before being believed. Which is the same thing. Keke Palmer, which is the same thing that happened to that woman in Sacramento who came out and said she was being abused by that pastor. Same thing. Well, I believe her. Why do you have to believe her? Why not just support somebody who's saying that why would you want to get famous by saying you were assaulted? Who does that?
Unpopular opinion here.
And
I gotta say it. I have to. I think when it comes now to internet culture, people want to they want to pick a side that they think they're not going to regret later. And I think that's partially why people will say, well, oh, I believe her. Or they'll be like, oh, I don't believe her. Let's wait to see the truth or stuff like that. I think kind of like LaDonna said, we're in this narrative on these phones most of the time with these stories, and people go out and they say on Instagram or they'll go say on Twitter that this is what happened to them. The people that don't care, really. They don't really care about you. They don't really care about your situation. They really just want something to talk about. They just want the next thing to talk about. And when you put yourself out there in a vulnerable position, like, I get why people do it. I completely understand it. And it can be beneficial for some people when they tell their truth on social media. But you really got to think about, when you put it out there, there's always going to be people that are going to troll and say stuff like, oh, well, we don't believe her, or this black, or however, this and that, because they really don't care on the internet. So I think that, unpopular opinion, that when you're sharing things like that, you should share them in safe spaces. And you shouldn't go on the internet if you are not ready for that type of feedback. If you're not prepared for people to hate and for people to not believe you, if you are not strong enough for that, you should not share that type of story on the internet. Even if you feel like you only got your closest friends, because stuff goes viral and goes crazy so much now, just from your cousin sharing it to her friends and her, you know what I mean, or whoever. So I think that's an unpopular opinion. I feel like the trauma that we go through should be shared in safe spaces, rather than us believing that social media is a safe space for us, because I don't think that it is. I don't think it is. I don't believe that it is. And I believe whatever we say, anybody, it's going to always be interpreted the way that people see it, through their eyes and through their own lens. So even with Amanda Seales, like, people are going to probably hate on her with that forever, because some people just don't forget, because that's what they want to hold on to. So anytime they see her name, whatever, they not doing nothing, they going to type some miserable comment about how she's a liar and this and this and that, because she shared that. She's vulnerable. She's in a space where she shared that with a lot of people. And that is kind of, unfortunately, that's what comes with it when you are in that position and you decide to make your business public.
Yeah. But that woman said she would kill herself.
So I have this question for you. Oh, go ahead, Rabia.
Oh, I was saying, she said she was suicidal because of all of the negative comments.
So that's the question that I have for you, Rabia, as the mental health professional. How much of the way people respond indicates, now I know what I'm trying to say, but be patient with me as I put my words together. What I'm getting at is the way people pick sides and the way people respond to, I believe her or I don't believe her. I support the woman in a domestic violence dispute, or let's attack this aggressor because he's white, but we don't go after the aggressor when they're black. How much of that is really rooted in folks' their own personal unresolved trauma?
Well, it may not even be that deep, because just like we were talking about evolution last time, it's safety in numbers, right? You've heard of groupthink. It's groupthink is a process where you don't want to be singled out. You don't want to be left out. So you follow what the group is thinking. You go with the group. Like, I'd seen the Social Experiment on, I think it was like NBC or something like that, where there were people in this room, and it was a social experiment about groupthink. People in the room, they were at a dentist's office. They would ring this bell, and then somebody would stand up, right? Then they would sit back down. They ring the bell again, and then everybody would stand up, and they would sit back down. The only person who wasn't in on it was the person that they were studying, right? So they wanted to see how long it took for that person to start standing up, even though they didn't know why everybody was standing up. And it only took about 15 minutes. And they started, once the bell rang, they started standing up just like everybody else. So it's kind of a, like, if you're not included in the group, you're outcasted, right? You're outside. If you're outside of the group, that's not a comfortable feeling. And we're talking about safe space and being protected. You're protected if you have people around you who think the same way, or who do the same things, or who have the same ideas. Because now you don't have to be singled out. Now they're not reaching out to you or saying to you, no, that's wrong, because they can pick you off now, right? When you're in the herd, you the little one on the side, you get picked off by the zebra, right? The same type of situation. So it may be that might have something to do with people's trauma, because of the fact that if you have had a situation where you have not felt safe, if there's safety in the numbers, even if it's in a space where you're just talking or you're just sending a message, you might feel safer to be able to do that. So it could be, but you don't necessarily have to have had a traumatic situation to feel that way, because there's lots of sheeple in the United States, lots of them that just follow the trend. You know, I'm posted about the blow with the wind Negroes. You know, they out there. It's like you go where it's popular. Because if you're not, just like in school, if you're not popular, you're not safe, right? If you're not in a group, just like high school, if you don't have a group, if you don't follow a group, or if you don't chill with a group, you're gonna be out there for somebody to pick you up. So it's the same type of idea.
So as long as that's a part of the human condition, then it's going to be a challenge for people to kind of, it's going to be a challenge for liberated thinking to trend.
Yeah.
Because folks will only, they're only willing to be liberated intellectual thinkers as long as there's a group of intellectual thinkers to belong to.
Yes.
Or agree with them. Yes.
But this kind of goes back to like what you guys were saying about how will this change? Like what LaDonna was saying about her being rooted in her beliefs, even no matter how many women are around. Once you get a group started, it'll grow. So once we start being a certain way in our small groups, it'll grow in numbers, because people will be like, well, what are they doing over there? I want to be a part of that. That's a cool group to be in. They don't want to be over here. So it'll start to be a change, and some of them will just follow along with it, but it'll be a thing.
Yeah. But then there's this whole idea of the negative connotation of individualism, right? And then we have rooted in our DNA where we are a collective people. So, you know, Big Mama's house. We Big Mama's house all the time. Everybody has to gather in order for us to be able to celebrate and be joyful, right? But then there's this idea of, if we're individuals, then we're selfish. We don't want to take care of other people. We have an issue with, you know, not necessarily wanting to take care of the group. But then we have the issue of Black women are taught to do that regardless, right? Don't think about yourself. Think about the family. How is this going to affect the family? What is the family going to do? How is the family going to react? You should take care of the family before you take care of you, right? So we have all these issues that are intertwined that need to kind of be etched out before we can even get to a space of where people start to individually or be individual thinkers. Some people are already, but those are the ones that are weird. Those are the strange people, right? Those are the ones with the strange idea. Those are the Moors.
But I don't feel like everybody needs to be an individual thinker for change to happen, though. Do you know what I mean?
You don't think so?
Some people, no, because there's some people that are leaders and there's some people that are not. Like in a group thing, there's people that get people to see the idea, but I think that sometimes other people just need a little help. Sometimes they need to be around people that are thinking in a different way in order for them to even think about that at all. Because I think it's all about, like, for example, how you raise. You don't think about certain things if you've never seen it in your life, or if you don't even know what it's about. Like like race issues, why people of color say other people will never understand our issues because they've never lived it. Even though you have a Black friend or you have this, you've never really experienced it. So until we tell you exactly what it is, you always gonna think that's something else, because in your lens and in your spectrum, that's something else. So they don't have that to be able. We have to tell them this is wrong for you to do, for them to be able to know that it's wrong. You know what I mean? So I think some people need guidance, or they need people to be able to tell them this is the way that things should be. In my opinion.
Who is that?
You know, that reminds
Unpopular
me.
opinion.
I was trying to say something. I don't know if I froze. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I got another hip hop reference to what Yana just said. KRS-One has a song called "Somebody," where he speaks, and in the song is laid out just like what you just said. Everybody can play a different part, right? Somebody. In the song, he says, "Everybody can't be a queen. Everybody can't be a hoe and a bitch. everybody can't be a philosopher because somebody got to load up the clip, right? There's a position and a place for everybody in this thing. And when everyone plays their part and that leader or group of leaders comes along to harmonize, then you have a unified movement. So it's a matter of individuals harmonizing with other individuals, and we get that as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to church.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen choirs.
Mm-hmm.
We get harmony. We experience harmony. We know what that is. We just we might not just call it that in all facets of life. We might look at it like it only applies to the choir. But
right.
If that's the case, then there's a lot of choir members and there's a whole lot of Kirk Franklins out here.
Right. Yeah.
So how do we get past, if we're doing, individuals moving together in harmony, how do we get past the crabs in the barrel?
We get them out of the barrel.
We kick them out? We just
the
push
barrel,
them out?
We get out of the barrel. The barrel is not the natural environment for the crab.
We do need to get out of the barrel. Right.
Yeah, the barrel is not the crab's natural environment. You put crabs in their natural environment, they're not constantly pulling and snatching each other down. You put them in a barrel, they are, but that's not their natural environment.
Yeah, we're on the beach. We're supposed to be on the beach.
Yeah, this
saying.
You put a whole bunch of fish in a fish tank and say, look at them. Look how they just walking around in a circle. Put them someplace else and see what they do.
Yeah.
So what is that environment? Like life-wise, what would that be? What would the environment be that we need to promote more in order for us to be able to get to this harmonious space?
I don't know for real. Anything I say after this is just gonna sound like a hoax. I don't know for real.
What do y'all think, youngins? Since y'all the new generation. Come on, new generation.
I don't have an answer. I think change is coming, but
I say
I don't know.
I don't know. I hope change is coming. I don't personally feel like it's ever gonna change. I just think that
you have to go much.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay,
we'll see.
Why don't you think so?
Just because. Okay, well, I can't say that I don't think so. I just think as of right now, it's gonna be stagnant. But I'm pretty sure, like I said, the younger generation, even not just me, but the ones that were, the 2000 generation or whatever, I feel like they're a little bit more positive than the generation that's now.
The generation that's now. Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Mila, you were talking about the women in the family, right? And the roles that and I was talking about that a little bit too, but the roles that the women in the family play. So, back in Big Mama days, it used to be the matriarch of the family. And she was the one that ruled with the iron fist. And she told everybody what they needed to do. Like my grandmother was 4'11", right? And we were scared of her. Not that we should have been, but we were, because this was this little tiny woman walking around with these little slides on. That back in the 60s and 70s, the slides was like a heel this big. But she was walking around. We were scared of her because she was controlling, but she took control of the family, right? So the role of the big mama to take control of the family. And then you have the other women in the family where traditionally we used to be in the kitchen cooking and taking care of everybody, right? But that's changed now. That's not our role necessarily. Or is it? Or should it be? Should that still continue to be the Black woman's role in the family? To be either controlling or controlled, to have a space that requires us to be nurturers and take care of everybody, or should we be able to be individuals and have our own ideas?
I don't think that that's necessarily the role anymore. It might be still the role for like what Mila said for the older generation, but I think that your generation has taught younger women not to be that way. I think there's a definite shift in that of women being the nurturing role. I think that that's not even something that's like a question anymore. It's a change in that of like, yeah, we're still in that. We still play that, but I think that we're more of like, I think it's changing. I think it's changing of like, do what you want, work if you want, don't nurture if you don't want to, don't help these people, be more selfish. But I think that that's because, because I know, okay, because in my experience from, and I'll just go by like, let's just say, what I be seeing on Twitter or like I see on Instagram, that's not what I see women my age talking about anymore. And a lot of even people my age, there are a lot of people that went to school with that have kids, but there are a lot of people that went to school with that don't. And a lot of women that don't want kids or they don't want a family. They don't want to be somebody's, and Black women, they don't want to be somebody's, they don't want to be that role.
Mama.
They want to be different. They want to be independent. Yeah, they want to travel. They want to learn. They want to do a bunch of different stuff now. So I think it's kind of shifting to where that role is kind of not, it's not really the same anymore. You know, it's changing. It still is, but it's changing, I think.
Okay. So do you think, like you said, inward, outward, you think we should start with the family ideologies or the family traditions and then work our way outward in order to make the change? Or do you think
I
we
think
should?
Because it starts at home. Everything starts at home.
Okay.
You learn from the home and then you bring it outside of the home. Just like child behavior. Everybody's always wondering what's wrong with the child because there might be something going on in the home. Everything starts at home.
Yep.
That's my personal take.
Yeah. Taking it full circle, going back to the Chad Wheeler situation, I think if we're going to start at home with anything about men, we need to teach them how to be nurturers and how to express themselves and how to express their anger so that we don't have these types of situations. Teach your son that it's okay to take care of things. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to talk. It's okay to communicate if you are feeling frustrated or things like that. And that it's not all about just beating football and basketball and boxing and fighting and holding in your tears. You know what I mean? So I think that's, it definitely starts at home.
Okay. So who's the responsible one for that?
The parent.
Or is it
the parents in a whole. It takes two people to have a kid. I don't feel like the teaching should always focus on one parent. It needs to be both.
Okay. So if we're talking about now, how do we get the parents? Because if you're talking about teaching your son how to be nurturing, how would his father contribute to that if he doesn't know how to do that?
Well, I guess it's all on the mama.
I think,
or they could take parenting classes,
right?
Or
that's a good idea. Whoever has the idea and the experience can teach the other one, and I say that because as much as there are people holding on to the traditional roles, like Yana said, I'm seeing a shift in men as the primary care providers. I'm starting to see that, right? I'm starting to see men as the primary care providers. So men are getting a crash course in nurturing because it doesn't come naturally to them because they didn't play with baby dolls, right? They weren't conditioned or trained to nurture, but something in them is committed to their children. So they're getting a crash course in that nurture. And some of them show up because out of the two parents, even though the mother is the one who birthed the child, it's the father who has more of the nurturing trait. So whoever has the vibe, whoever has the experience, share it with the other.
Should be the teacher,
sure.
Yeah. And what you touched on about the baby dolls, we need to socialize these boys to be nurturers. We need to allow them, if they want to play with baby dolls, to do it and not say, well, that's going to make him gay. Because that's not true. We need to allow him to cry if he needs to cry. We need to allow him to be affectionate if he wants to be affectionate. That's, I think, where it should start. That's where I think a lot of this domestic violence is going to shift, is because when they are aggressive and you've taught them how to be assertive and how to communicate with words, they may not necessarily go there all the time. If you've taught them that people are important to you and the people that you love are important, more important than your own ego and your own attitude and your own aggressiveness, maybe they won't go there all the time. Or if you teach them, people leave, you can't control them all the time, then maybe they won't go there. That's just me.
Also, one more thing, because me and Mila were talking about this the other day too, about how it takes a community to raise children. I think it has to be modeled as well. I don't think that is something that just has to be told. I think if we're going to tell them to do it, we got to model it as a parent. And as if we want to teach a child healthy communication, we have to model healthy communication. That has to be something that we can't be telling our sons not to beat on women while my baby daddy beating on me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, don't do that. But it's acceptable for him to do that to me, but you can't do that to nobody else. You know what I mean? So it also has to be modeled in the people that they are around.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
We can make that a whole nother show talking about gender roles and stuff. Okay. Well, we have 51 minutes. Y'all want to go to an hour, or you want to stop?
We might as well.
Are we done?
I mean,
Are we done?
I feel like we talked about a lot. I don't know.
Okay.
I was like,
what
that sounded like closing thoughts.
What does anybody have any more to close out? Everybody done? We can hear you, ma'am.
Right,
Off camera, sir, ma'am. We can hear you.
I think if we keep doing positive things, like there's a lot of positive things that I'm seeing on the internet that will spark the change. I think if we keep having these conversations, with people around us, and don't be afraid, I think stuff will happen. Don't be afraid to challenge people on what they're saying. Even if you on the internet and you see something and you feel like it's wrong, and you challenge them, and don't be afraid to have those conversations. Don't be afraid to go against the grain if people are not agreeing, if you feel like something is wrong, or if you I mean, that's just period.
But challenge them and stand on that.
Don't push back. Don't fall back.
Don't change it because somebody said, oh well, I don't, or 15 people said, no, I don't agree with that. And you be like, oh yeah, I could kind of see. Don't do that. Challenge people and their thoughts and their behaviors, and then stand on that and be okay with the fact that you might get pushback. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Mila, the last question. Oh, go ahead, LaDonna.
And so I'm hearing you say challenge people when you see something that, don't be afraid to go against the grain. Challenge something if you see something that's not right, that's not fair, that's not holistic. And don't be afraid to challenge self. Right. Because I'm not always going to be open-minded, right? I'm not always going to be open-minded. I have my own biases. I got my own triggers. I got my own preferences. So when something challenges me, I'm going to grow if I'm not afraid to let that happen, and then challenge myself to say, well, why do I have so much resistance? How come it's so hard for me to let that go?
Right.
And that will grow me.
Self-awareness and insight is necessary.
Agreed.
All times in life. Mila, anything you want to say before we go?
No, I think everything's pretty much been said.
All right. Thank you, ladies, again. Good conversation. We had a good time. Next time we should probably bring some drink. Whatever.
So what are we going to talk about next week? I like relationship labels. Yana said baby daddy, and that reminded me of something I love to talk about. When did baby mama, baby daddy replace husband and wife?
All right. Well, next week we're
that's
gonna be
the
talking
combo.
about relationship labels. That's what we're talking about. All right. Thank you all. Love y'all.
Thank you. Bye. Love you too. Bye.